What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about auto fraud. Now, this is something I talked quite a bit on my channel, and unfortunately, as we go deeper into this recession, we're going to see this a lot more, and it's only going to get worse. Now, unfortunately, the reason why I'm making this video is I had 2 subscribers fall victim to this, and they've basically lost a combined $300,000 in vehicles because of this type of fraud. So I wanted to make another video to give you guys an update and let you know what to look out for and how to protect yourself. Now, the first fraud we're going to be talking about is VIN swapping or synthetic VINs. This is something that's literally getting out of control. Out of buying and selling cars for over 20 years, I used to see this maybe once in a blue moon, maybe once a year, once every 6 months. Now you can literally spot these things if you're selling enough cars, maybe 5 to 10 times a month. That's how many fake or bad VIN numbers that are out there. What people do is they actually buy VIN numbers on the internet. They're little stickers and tags, and they'll buy a car, rent a car, or steal a car, swap out these things, either get a new title that's actually legit from a DMV, or they'll make a fake title and try to sell you the car. That's why I tell a lot of people, if the deal seems too good to be true, do not touch it, stay away. Unless you buy it from a dealership, there's some sort of backup that you can go back and either sue them or go after their bond. But that's why a lot of these people are doing this, because they know there's people out there desperate, there's not a lot of money out there, and so they're trying to force these cars out. Now, VIN swapping is very popular with exotic and highline cars because, there's more money, it takes a lot of money to spend to do these types of things. But we've seen a spike in a lot of regular cheap cars, like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cars, which I don't know why they would do it, but that's what they're doing now, is they're doing a lot on cheaper cars. Now, there are a few ways to protect yourself. First one is you can actually run a Carfax. If there's not a lot of information on a Carfax, then more than likely the car there's something wrong. It's not a real car, especially if the car is 2-3 years old. If it has no emissions, no registration records, no service records, nothing like that, be wary of that. That's why usually they try to do it on newer cars, but like with a lot of these older cars we're seeing that are being VIN swapped, you can tell right away. On top of that, you can actually call your local parts department at your dealership and say, hey, run this VIN number, give me the breakdown of your car. Now, all these VIN numbers will make sense up to a certain point, but it's the last 6 digits lets the known manufacturer what options it came with, what factory it was built in, all the little things that'll tell it different from everybody else. So if you give that VIN number to the dealership and they're like, we have no record of this car, this is not a real VIN, you know that you're in trouble. So make sure you check that. Also, I recommend always bringing your car into a dealership to double check on that, because once in a blue moon, I don't want to get triggered, there are cars that are manufactured overseas and brought over here that are not in the US registry. So just bring them to a dealership, double check that. But these are some of the things you need to worry about. And then also the titles, if it's a high dollar car, always do the transaction at the DMV to make sure that that title is real and the actual VIN number is real as well. And unfortunately, this is what brings us to our first story of our subscriber. He purchased a Rolls-Royce Wraith about a year ago from a dealership in Houston. Now, unfortunately, since then, the dealership went bankrupt and they're out of business now, so he has no recourse. But as he was driving, he wound up getting pulled over and the police impounded his car. He has no record, no issues, wasn't sure why they took his car. But then when he started talking to them, he found out that the insurance company that he had turned him into the police because they said that it wasn't a real VIN number, that it was a fake one. And so when he went down there to get some more information and try to get his car back, they found another VIN number on the vehicle, and they said they couldn't give him the car because they have to figure out who it is, what it is, if it's stolen or whatever else. And so now he just lost a $200,000 car. And so now what does he do? There's nothing. He can't go after the dealership to get his money back. And unfortunately, his insurance company is not going to give him any money because they're the ones that turned him in thinking he was trying to commit fraud when he just bought a vehicle. So this is why it's a very slippery slope. So even if you don't know, they still treat you like you did something wrong. And that's kind of the bad thing. Because even as dealers, if we buy these cars, you get held liable and they bug you and harass you and all this crazy stuff. So it's not worth it. That's why I'm trying to tell people about this. So hopefully people are more aware and a lot of these criminals will stop doing this stuff to basically screw over a bunch of regular people and businesses as well. Now, one of the things I recommend also is always take it into a shop, a dealership, and use your scanner to actually double check the VINs in your car. This is the scanner that I use. It's an Altel. This one costs a little bit of money, but you can buy some for $1,000 that can actually read the VIN numbers on the TCM, PCM, engine control module, whatever you have in that car, you can actually read it through these scanners. It's a great way to double check just to make sure that you're getting the right car. So the next fraud we're going to be talking about is mileage stoppers, as well as mileage rollback or rollback odometers. These are two separate things. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the first one, mileage stoppers. Now these things came out really, really strong in the last few years because so many people are basically buying cars they can't afford. They're getting these stupid leases where as long as they keep the miles down very low, they can get a low payment. And so these things just started popping up out of everywhere. On top of that, with the boom of this rental car businesses, everybody just decided to jump in and do this to keep the miles low so they can burn up these cars and then try to resell them and get their money back. And unfortunately, it's only going to get worse as we progress, like I said, further down this economy. Now, this right here is an actual mileage stopper. This thing plugs into the back of your actual gauge cluster and tells the computer to stop recording miles. Now, we found this at a local auction here in Las Vegas. And so there's a lot of these things all over these cars. Now, you could see these predominantly in a lot of luxury cars and exotic cars and highline cars. But just recently, we started seeing them in regular cars, Fords, Nissans, Toyotas. And so it's just letting us know that more and more fraud is coming out there. So you need to be careful. The best way I tell people to stay away from this type of car is there are a few things which I won't share, but you can look online and there's ways you can basically touch certain buttons on a steering wheel and it'll either turn it off or turn it on and let you know that if there's a mileage tracker on there. Also, the guaranteed best way to figure it out is one, to take the gauge cluster out, and two, to actually use that exact same scanner that we just talked about. Pick your make and model, scan it, and actually look at the miles on your TCM, your power control module, whatever else you have, all the other modules you have on there, and see if the VIN and the miles match up on that compared to what you're seeing on the dash and on the door. Like I said, this machine costs a few $1,000. You don't have to have anything crazy like that. You can buy one that's maybe $1,000, or you could take it into a reputable mechanic's place, or worst case scenario, a dealership. I always recommend doing a dealership because worst case scenario, if they see some sort of fraud, they will flag the car and the car will be blackballed. And that's another reason why you actually want to take it in, because you may be able to scan it and figure out, okay, the miles are okay, everything is good, but it may be black flagged by the dealership. What this means is if the car was known for being fraud, a rental car, driven too hard, something crazy, maybe a mileage blocker, they will actually black flag that car where you cannot get any service work done to your vehicle. So even though you bought maybe a 2023 Lamborghini Huracan with 22,000 miles, you still got a warranty up to 23,000 miles and your motor blows, it's automatically denied because the car was black flagged. They will not fix it. They won't do anything to it. You were on your own 100%. And so these are some of the things, like I said, that you want to pay attention to. The other subscriber that basically bought a car, he bought a Dodge, I think it was a Cummins truck, F350 he was going to use for his actual company to ship cars back and forth between here and California. And make a long story short, he took it into the dealership and they told him that his motor is new, but his transmission is like, it just looked old. And so he thought maybe the guy switched out the transmission, something like that. But after further investigation, they realized that whatever wasn't replaced had looked like it had 100,000 miles on it. So he paid extra money for a clean, low mileage, dually crew cab diesel truck when it really has probably closer to 150 to 200,000 miles. So he lost about $70,000 in value just like this, because now he has to sell the car as TMU, which is true mileage unknown. And everybody knows in the dealership world, if you put that on a car, it's pretty much a death sentence. No bank will finance it. Nobody wants it because, like I said, we don't know what the true mileage is. It could be off by 50 miles. It could be off by 1,000,000 miles. But once you make that basically declaration, you screw the car for life. And unfortunately, that's what he has to deal with now, is he has a car that has no idea what the true mileage is, and he has to disclose that when he goes to sell it. So like I said, he's going to lose a lot of money. And the last fraud we're going to be talking about is either fake titles or fake lien releases. This is going to go out to not only regular people, but dealers as well. You got to be careful and double check your paperwork. I've never seen so many people trying to wheel around these fake titles and trying to push off cars. Now, there's an easy way to check this. You can run Carfax and actually see if the title number matches with the actual one that was printed, and also to see if the print date matches up. And even if that is, and it says it was registered in California, but it gives you maybe a Nevada title or an Arizona title, don't touch the car. Stay away from it. If you're going to do the transaction, I recommend doing it at the dealership just so they can verify and make sure that that title is the correct title. These fake lien releases, people go around with a fake title and a fake lien release and say, oh, I paid it off. I paid, whatever Chase the money I owed. So here's the title, here's that. And some DMVs will actually take it, register the car. And then all of a sudden you're driving the car, you'll get a knock on the door from the police and they'll say, hey, you know what? Yeah, somebody did some sort of fraud on that car. That car's still owned by Chase. We need your car. And now you lose that car. You won't get in trouble because, unfortunately you were part of a victim, but you lose your money. And that's the reason why I'm making this video is I don't want people to lose, thousands of dollars and sometimes people's life savings just because they wanted to buy a car they thought they were getting a good deal. And once again, you're going to see this more and more often. You have to be careful because both of these guys admitted they saw all my videos where I was talking about auto fraud. They took some of the necessary steps, but they skipped a few and they winded up getting burned. So unfortunately, you don't want to fall victim to these crooks. Double check the things. Like I said, bring it into your shop or go buy a scanner. Go through your car, double check everything. Take it to the dealership, take it to the DMV. Do whatever you can to protect you. Another layer of protection I tell people, go to a bank. Even if you have cash, go to your local bank, credit union, have them write a check to the customer, and then you pay cash and you can pay it off, after a few months once the dust settles, because at least you have that buffer. Because some banks, if the customer or the dealership is committing fraud, there's some sort of insurance or they could write off the loan where it'll protect you, where if you give your money, that's it. So the bank will actually go after the dealership or after the person to help you instead of just basically being burned. So try to use a bank as a third party along with the dealerships and the DMV to protect yourself. And I know some states have DMV clerks, so see if you can find one in your area. If you ever have questions, they'll go to the DMV for you, process your paperwork. It's worth the $50. Pay these people, because I've seen so many people over the last 3 years lose thousands of dollars because they just keep buying these deals they think are too good to be true, or there's some sort of issue, or, oh, I bought it with no title. And don't even get me started on that. There's a bunch of these groups on Facebook, do not buy a car. There are no titles, as is. I see people all the time, well, I bought this car, I'm just going to drive it till they take it away from me. Don't do that, because they could call the insurance company. They can say it was stolen just so they can collect the insurance money, and you're driving this thing around thinking you bought a car that has a lien on it and it's okay. Next thing you know, they take the car away from you and you're getting arrested because they reported it stolen. So it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the grief. Stay away from these cars with no titles as well. But anyways, I'd love to know your opinion in the comment section below. What do you guys think of the auto loan fraud crisis that's currently going on right now? Do you guys see a lot in your area? I see news things all the time talking about fake VINs, fake titles, mileage rollbacks. Are you a victim yourself, or do you have a friend or family member? Please put it in the comment section below. And also, if you didn't know about any of this stuff, let me know what you just learned about. It'd be great to hear from you guys. And if you have any more video ideas, put them in the comment section below. I'll try to read each and every single one for the first 2 hours, and let's come up with a new video together. And I guess that's pretty much it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.